Good day, first year students. As you know, yesterday I started the poem A Wedding Song by Edmund Spenser, and I could explain first and second stanza in which Spenser describes his beautiful bride coming towards the church, and in most of the lines he praises her for her beauty and virtues. Now at church, wedding ceremony is about to take place, so let's continue with the third stanza. I quote, Behold, while she before the altar stands, hearing the holy priest that to her speaks, and blesseth her with his two happy hands. The speaker starts by saying, Behold. Behold means look. Look at her. Observe her. The speaker says, See her while she before the altar stands. While she is standing before the altar at church, hearing the holy priest that to her speaks. She is listening to the priest who is speaking to her, and blesseth her with his two happy hands. And the priest is offering his blessings upon the bride and upon the marriage. How the red roses flush up in her cheeks, and the pure snow with goodly vermeil stain, like crimson dyed in green. Now here in these lines, the speaker gives a beautiful description of the maidenly blushes of his bride, how she is blushing. And he says, how the red roses flush up in her cheeks, and the pure snow with goodly vermeil stain, like crimson dyed in green. While she is blushing, her pure snow white cheeks turn into color of red roses with goodly vermeil stain. Vermeil means vermilion, sindoor. Her cheeks look stained with red spots like red roses, like crimson dyed in green. Crimson means a deep red color, like a dyed deep red color. Her cheeks are looking. Her white complexion has become red with blushing. She is feeling very shy, and shyness has caused her white cheeks to turn red. That even the angels that continually about the sacred altar do remain, forget their service and about her fly, oft peeping in her face that seems more fair, the more they on it stare. And she is looking so beautiful at the moment that even the angels that continually about the sacred altar do remain, that even the angels who constantly protect the sacred altar, the holy altar, forget their service and about her fly. They forget their duty, and about her fly means they fly around her. They encircle around her, oft peeping in her face that seems more fair, the more they on it stare. The angels, peeping means they are looking at her. The angels are looking at her face with wonder that seems more fair, the more they on it stare. That her face grows more and more beautiful, the more they stare at it. The angels seem to be enchanted with her beauty. But her sad eyes, still fastened on the ground, are governed with goodly modesty that suffers not one look to glance awry, which may let in a little thought unsound. But her sad eyes, but she is looking fixedly on the ground, her sad eyes still fastened on the ground, fixed on the ground, governed with goodly modesty, and she is standing there with humility and modesty that suffers not one look to glance awry. Awry means wrong, not right. Not even a single look go wrong. Her modesty doesn't allow not a single look to go wrong, which may let in a little thought unsound, which might cause a bad thought in others, bad opinions in others about her. There is nothing flawed, there is nothing wrong in her demeanor at the moment. Why blush ye, love, to give me your hand, the pledge of all our bond? And the speaker questions his bride, why are you blushing? Why do you feel shy in giving me your hand, the pledge of all our bond? To take the pledge. Pledge means the oath, the wedding vows of our union, the pledge of all our bond. Sing, ye sweet angels, alleluia, sing, that all the woods may answer and your echo ring. He is wondering why she should blush to give him her hand in marriage. Sing, ye sweet angels, alleluia, sing. And he asks the angels to sing the songs of praise to God. Alleluia means songs in praise of God, that all the woods may answer and your echo ring, and your song should be so loud that it might echo all over the woods. Fourth stanza. Now all is done, bring home the bride again. Bring home the triumph of our victory, bring home with you the glory of our gain. With joyance bring her and with jollity. Now all is done. The marriage ceremony at church is over now, and the speaker asks to bring the bride home again from church. Bring home the triumph of our victory, bring home with you the glory of our gain. This wedding is like a triumph. Triumph means the victory. This wedding is like a triumph to them which they have achieved together. Bring home you the glory of her gain. They have gained glory, honor by this union. With joyance bring her and with jollity. Let the bride bring home with happiness and jollity. Jollity means a lively and cheerful activity. Khushnuma mahol. Never had man more joyful day than this, whom heaven would heap this bliss. And the speaker thinks, never had man more joyful day than this. He thinks that a man cannot have a more joyful day than the day of his own marriage. Whom heaven would heap this bliss. And it's a heavenly blessing upon a man. The marriage is a heavenly blessing upon a man. Make feast therefore now all this livelong day. This day forever to me holy is. So, make feast. So one should celebrate this day. He wants his marriage to be a memorable occasion, and he wants to celebrate it to the fullest. This day forever to me holy is. He is wishing to hold this day forever. Pour out the wine without restraint or stay. Pour not by cups, but by the belly full. The speaker orders to pour out wine in the glasses, to fill the glasses with wine for guests without any restraint or stay, without any control. Pour not by cups, but by the belly full. And no one should drink by cups, but they should drink till their stomachs are belly full, full of wine. Pour out wool. Wool means, again an old word from English, Old English. Wool means desire, wish. Offer everyone, whoever wishes to drink. And sprinkle all the posts and walls with wine, that they may sweat and drunken be withal. And the celebration should not be limited to the guests. Even the walls, even the posts and pillars of the house should also celebrate. He orders to sprinkle his house walls with wine so that they may also appear they may sweat and drunken be withal, so that they may also appear to have sweat and got drunk. Crown ye God Bacchus with a coronal, and Hymen also crown with wreaths of wine, and let the Graces dance unto the rest. Bacchus is the god of wine, and Hymen is the god of marriage, and Graces are the three goddesses of beauty and grace, and all these three religious figures, Bacchus, Hymen, and Graces, are all from Greek mythology. And he says, crown ye god Bacchus with a coronal. So the speaker requests the god Bacchus, the god of wine, to wear a crown, and Hymen also crowned with wreaths of wine. And the god of marriage Hymen should also put on a wreath of wine, and let the Graces dance unto the rest. And the goddesses Graces should dance for the rest of the time. Unto the rest mean for the rest of the time, for they can do it best, for they can perform dance in the finest manner, as the three are the goddesses of charm and grace. The whiles the maidens do their carol sing, to which the woods shall answer and their echo ring. And all this while the maidens do their carols sing. The maidens should sing carols. Carols are the religious songs in Christianity, to which the maidens should sing the religious songs, and to which the woods shall answer and their echo ring. So, we see in this passage that Spenser wishes to make his wedding a memorable day of fun and festivity, not only for people but also for the gods and goddesses, as they are supposed to take part in the celebration and bless the newly married couple by their presence. So students, here ends the poem, A Wedding Song, and I hope it made sense to you. I will begin with another topic in the next class. Thank you for today.